going to introduce you the communication style in various multicultural contexts. As mentioned in the lesson 1, each person has a unique style in communicating, which may depend not only on his or her linguistic ability, but also on his or her cultural and social context. Some are outspoken, some are quiet yet on point. Some seems formal, while some had a lot of introduction before getting to the main point. Communication style refers to the choices people make and the strategies and tools they use in the process of communication. A style may sometimes depend on the demands of the communicative situation as well as on the requirements of the target recipients of the information. Each style has two dimensions, the assertiveness level and the emotiveness level, which is shown in the communication style matrix. The communication style was developed by Dr. Eileen M. Russell that shows us the 4 different communication styles, which is the direct, spirited, systematic, and considerate. Direct communication involves saying what a person thinks and feels, and it is marked by active listening and effective feedback. It is clear, straightforward, and involves the two-way, free-flowing sharing of thoughts, feelings, and ideas. There are no hidden messages in direct communication. Its purpose is quite simply to get or give information from one person or group of people to another. People with spirited communication style are enthusiastic and friendly. They would rather be around people than alone. They are able to motivate and generate excitement in others because of their optimistic focus and lively nature. They thrive in the spotlight of a group of people. They work at fast pace and are suited for high-profile public positions. They are fast in building relationships and use their alliances to accomplish work. They are spontaneous and quickly to take decisive action. On the other hand, people with considerate communication style are very concerned about feelings of others. They want to please people and to be included in their peer group. They are very interested in listening and finding out how you and others doing. They encourage group collaboration and communication. They value warm personal relationships. They have good counseling skills and are good listener. They are cooperative and enjoy being part of a team. They are always aware of others' feelings and are reliable. They are suited for any profession that requires to care and concern for others. Lastly is the systematic communication style. People with systematic communication style like to focus on facts and details rather than the opinions and possibilities. These people could be slower to respond to your communication and they are uncomfortable with expressing their feelings and emotion. They prefer to make decisions based on facts and not emotions. They are very accurate and objective. They rely on data and they are also an excellent problem solvers. They are orderly and prefer to work in an organized environment with clear guidance. They thrive in task-oriented positions that require independent work.
Assertiveness communication level. Assertiveness communication level tend to tell or instruct others what to do and something, even how to do it. While less assertive styles usually tend to be on the receiving end, often asking guidance and instructions, also directions. It means if you have a high assertiveness communication level, you are good in helping others. You are good in speaking. You are good in helping others in giving them guidance and directions, instructions. Examples of if you have a high assertiveness level of communication are guidance counselor, psychologist, and therapist. That's the example. If you have a high assertiveness level of communication. And if you have a low, you are often in a little bit asking for guidance and instructions, also directions. You are confident, not confident, and not like the if you have a high assertiveness communication level. Expressive communication level. usually shows their real feelings and emotions through facial expressions, tone of voice, or language use. The less expressiveness tend to either hide their feelings or exert some effort for these feelings not to show. It means if you have a expressiveness communication level, you are extrovert. If you have a high expressive communication level, you are good in communicating people. You are good in talking, in socializing. You are good in facial expression, your tone of voice, and your emotions. You are good in that. While if you have a low, it's like example of that is hiding their feelings. You can you can allow others to talk because it's like an introvert. You are okay to vibe with yourself, and you usually tend to hide your feelings as always because you don't want to disturb them. That's it. The combination of these levels result to the basic communication styles. Spirited, high expressiveness plus high assertiveness. It means you can call spirited if you have a high expressiveness and high assertiveness. If you have the level in communication, if you are good in guidance, if you are good in helping and giving instructions to others, like example of that is the teachers like that. And high assertiveness means you are good in speaking, you are good in preaching, the tone of voice and expression. So if you have that too, you can call spirited. That's one of the basic communication styles. Next is considerate. High expressiveness plus low assertiveness. You are good in helping others, giving them guidance and instructions, but you are not quite good in expressing your feelings. You are good in hiding it, and you don't want others to disturb because that's your personality. If you have that too, you can call yourself considerate. Next is direct. Low expressiveness plus high assertiveness. If you have a low you are good in hiding your feelings, and high assertiveness is you are good in communicating, giving them guidance. You can call yourself a direct in basic communication styles. Systematic, the last one, is low expressiveness plus low assertiveness. It's quite not good. And if you have low expressiveness, you are not good in socializing people. You are not good in opening up your feelings, your emotions, and in every situation. And if you have a low assertiveness, you're not good also in telling guidance, guiding people, giving instructions, and also the directions. You are not confident. If you have that too, low expressiveness and low assertiveness, you can call yourself a systematic. And that's the combination of the levels of basic communication styles: spirited, considerate, direct, and systematic. So if you have a direct communication style, this tips is for you. Make an effort to listen carefully to others. Avoid interrupting. Listening is important, and if you listen, you can understand. And to avoid interrupting, listen carefully, and you need to understand what they are saying, and also to avoid mental block and more. Number 2, allow time for chatting at the beginning of a meeting. Allow yourself and allow who are you communicating with, and free yourself as always. Number 3, recognize that others may also feel the need to express themselves. You need to understand what they are feeling, what they are communicating, and you need to understand what they need to express, what is their insights, and you know what they matter the most. Number 4, next is recognize that brainstorming can be effective, and it's not a waste of time. You know, everyone, brainstorming is not a waste of time. You know why? Because in brainstorming, you can refresh your mind, you can think deeply, you can broaden and widen your thinking capacity, and it's for your ideas and aspirations. And the last one is take some time to show your appreciation for others' contribution. Appreciation is important, we all know that. Appreciate all things, all help, even if it's small or big. It doesn't matter. It's help. Always help.
These are the tips for people with a spirited communication style. Number 1 is to respect decisions and agenda that have been agreed upon, as well as the time limits during meetings or any communicative situation. Number 2, try to limit your sharing of personal anecdotes that may take the decisions off topic. Number 3, make sure you are allowing others to contribute their ideas and suggestions, and that you are genuinely listening to them. Number 4, be certain that any request you make is clear and that you convey the reason for such request. And last but not the least, communicate your appreciation for others' work and input.
Tips for people with a considerate communication style. Number 1, recognize that other people's opinions about the topic are separate from their opinions about you. You need to understand that people have different perspectives about a specific topic. Number 2, realize that not everyone is comfortable discussing personal topics with colleagues. Respect that discussing personal topics are sensitive to others and not everyone is fine with it. Number 3, allow others to open personal matters before asking questions of that nature. When you are going to ask personal questions, make sure that it is okay for that person to share those information. Number 4, respect your own opinion as you respect that of others. Respecting others is as important as respecting your own self and able to build the confidence you need. And lastly, recognize that you don't have to be friends with everyone, but you should treat others and be treated professionally. Being friends with everyone is not required. What you need is to treat others equally and professionally. Tips for people with a systematic communication style. Number 1, recognize that for good working relationships, consideration for others' feelings is important. Relationship will be better if you always consider the feelings of other people despite of differences. Number 2, learn to ask qualifying questions that will help you get the information you need. If you are seeking for information, don't hesitate to ask questions for a better result. And number 3, make sure you understand the background of the discussion or scope of the conversation, so no time is wasted. You need to make sure that you get the point of the topic so that the flow of the conversation would be easy and time will be not wasted. Number 4, Politely ask other questions about themselves if you want to build rapport. Learning to know others will help you build a better relationship with others. And lastly, if you need to ask for more time to know, analyze, or discuss something, explain the benefit of the information you need to know. Time is very important, so use it wisely to study more about the information you want to understand.
Varieties and registers of the spoken and written language. There are two talking points in this topic. The first one is the language varieties, and the second one is the language registers. There are 5 varieties of language. The first one is the Pidgin, the second one is the Creole, the third one is the regional dialect, the fourth one is the minority dialect, and the last one is indigenous varieties. Let's talk about first the Pidgin. The Pidgin refers to a new language that develops into situations where speakers of different languages need to communicate but don't share common language. The vocabulary of a Pidgin comes mainly from one particular language, which is called the lexifier. An early pre-Pidgin, it is quite restricted and used and variable in structure. But the latter stable Pidgin develops its own grammatical rules, which are quite different from those of the lexifier. Once a stable Pidgin has emerged, it is generally learned as a second language and used for communication among people who speak different languages. Examples are Nigerian Pidgin and Bislama, which is spoken in Vanuatu. Now, let's talk about Creole. It is a Pidgin that becomes the first language of the children or the mother tongue of a certain community. Like a Pidgin, Creole is a distinct language which has taken most of its vocabulary from another language, the lexifier, but has its own unique grammatical rules. Unlike a Pidgin, however, a Creole is not restricted in use, and it's like any other language in its full range of functions. Examples are Gulaf Jamaican Creole and Hawaii Creole English. Now let's talk about the regional dialect. It is not a language that is not distinct from a national language, but rather a variety of a language spoken in a particular area of a community. Some regional dialects have been given traditional names which mark them out as being significantly different from standard varieties spoken in the same place. Some examples are Hillbilly English from the Applicanians in the USA and Geordie from Newcastle upon Tyne in the UK. Minority dialect, it is also one of the varieties of languages. This variety is used as a marker of identity, usually alongside its standard variety by the members of a particular minority ethnic group. Examples of minority dialect are American African Vernacular English in the USA, London Jamaican in Britain, and Aboriginal English in Australia.
The next one is indigenous varieties. These are spoken mainly as second languages in former colonies with multilingual population. This is the English that is influenced by other colonies. For example, we are colonized by the Americans, so our English is a combination of English Philippines. And these varieties can be used as part of your communication. And did you know a language register is characterized by the way a speaker uses language differently in different social circumstances? These are determined by such factors as social atmosphere, purpose of communication, audience, and the general context of the discourse. It simply means that the language register is used in different social circumstances or with the person you are talking to, depending on what he or she is to you, or it depends on the person you're talking to. And the first type of language register is formal. These registers are used in professional, academic, or legal settings where communication is expected to be respectful, uninterrupted, and restrained to specific rules. For example, you are in a meeting, and of course, you're not allowed to speak as long as you do not ask permission because it is showing disrespect. And when someone speaks, you should listen and not doing things that is inappropriate. The next one is casual. These registers are used when communicating with friends, close acquaintances, colleagues, and family members. And in this type of language register, you can tell jokes and say what's in your mind out of a sudden. But it should be in accordance with how close you are to each other or in the person you are talking to. And for examples, as you can see in the picture, they have a gatherings which you can tell that they are close enough to be that clean. And it's alright as long as you are close to each other or you are both related.
There are different language styles used for different purposes in the different social settings, which are public and private. As for intimate language registers, these are often private since it is only for individuals who knows each other or have a close relationship or bond. This may include private vocabulary, endearment, and expressions whose meaning is shared by two people only or a small group. It is reserved for special occasions, usually between two people like couples, siblings, and parents with their child. They've known each other for so long that they can share intimate topics among themselves. So probably best if we avoid using this in public and professional situations.
Some examples of this are when parents advises his or her children, and also when someone shares their secrets to one of his or her trusted friend.
Next is the frozen language registers. It refers to historic language that is intended to remain unchanged. Since it really changes or remain unchanged, as I said prior to this may include old term or grammar.
Some examples of these are biblical verse and also Pledge of Allegiance.
Last is the consultative language registers. It is used in conversation where people are speaking with someone who has specialized knowledge or is offering an advice. Tone is often respectful, such as use of honorifics or courtesy titles, but may be more casual if the relationship between or among the communicators is friendly. If frozen registers uses one-way communication, consultative registers uses two-way communication, wherein they need to communicate with one another.
Examples of this are when you're consulting with your doctor and also when a teacher talks to his or her students.
Language registers can also be classified as formal, informal, and neutral. Formal registers are appropriate for professional situations such as when speaking with your supervisor or when writing an invitation letter. We should use complete sentences since it is formal. The communication is expected to be respectful. You should avoid slangs. Informal registers, on the other hand, are conversational and appropriate when speaking or writing to a friend or to someone you know quite well. This is used among persons who are well acquainted. Here, we can use slangs and we can speak casually. Wait, remember, the use of combination of those registers, formal and informal, highly depends on the person who are you talking with, who are you communicating with, and also in the context or the nature of the communication. The last one is the neutral registers. Neutral registers are non-emotional and laden with facts. These are most appropriate for research or technical writing. This language register is neither too formal or too informal. It allows people to use language in a balanced way, which people can easily understand. Neutral language registers are also used to deliver facts. You know what? It is important for us to understand the different language registers so that we know what appropriate language to use in a particular situations or to the person whom you're communicating with.
Improving one's ability in communicating in a multicultural setting. A topic from Lesson 2, Local and Global Communication in Multicultural Settings. Why is it important to improve our ability to communicate in a multicultural setting? The importance of improving our ability to communicate in multicultural settings are justified by the following reasons. The first reason is that everything should start with a personal desire and strong conviction to relate much more effectively with persons having different cultural backgrounds. Our willingness and openness as an individual determines how well or how good our ability of integrating or socializing with people who differ from us in terms of culture. The second reason implies that this will not only create positive personal relationships but also open more opportunities for professional growth. Improving our intercultural communication skills is much more than boosting our credibility because it also helps us gain mutual connections with more people. And as for the third reason, limiting one's reliance on preconceived notions and established stereotypes is also a major leap towards effective intercultural communication. Maintaining effective intercultural communication helps us set aside prejudgments and stereotypes that tends to damage relationships and impede social engagements. There are 3 guidelines that we can abide to so that we can continuously improve our ability to communicate effectively in a multicultural setting. The first guideline implies that we must refrain from forming expectations based solely on our culture. Acknowledging and accepting all forms of cultural differences is vital to our ability of communicating with those who have a diverse communication style. Immersing yourself to the multicultural society and valuing the beauty of diversity makes you an effective communicator. Being open to all forms of differences within another culture is an effective way of connecting with others within a multicultural setting. We must learn and teach ourselves to go beyond the comfort zones of our own culture so that we're always willing and prepared to immerse ourselves and to communicate within a much more diverse environment.
When improving one's ability in communicating in a multicultural setting, it is also important to remove personal biases or any stereotypes that may impede understanding. You don't want at the receiving end of a biased judgment, right? You don't want people avoiding you just because of how they see other members of your group or culture. And we all know that if we will continue to implement that kind of mindset, we can damage relationships. To do that, we need to identify some of your perceptions and sentiments about certain people, race, and ethnic groups that may be considered as stereotypes. And again, avoid the stereotypes. These prejudgments may damage relationships. Second, make a personal commitment to develop communication skills. Appropriate in multicultural settings, your ability to develop intercultural communication is incredibly important to breaking down cultural barriers and building awareness of cultural norms, as well as enhancing self-awareness and communication skills. Your ability to develop your intercultural communication skills largely depends on the promises you are willing to make. Such promises will include the following: committing yourself in seeking information from persons with different culture, understanding how the experiences of persons from different cultures introduces different perspectives, paying attention to the situation and the context whenever I or you communicate with persons from different cultures, exerting true effort to become a more flexible communicator, not forcing